We're only going to sing verses, first and last verse on the song Courage.
Well, good morning. Boy, are we different today. Oh, over there. And over there. They were talking about the sheeps and the goats a while ago. I said, my left is over there. So that must be the goats. And over here, the sheep. Yay. And I don't know what you guys are. Y'all are on the middle ground. Not quite there yet. Yeah. All right, so we did have a big day. And I cannot start unless I mention that number. Amy said, be sure and say. And I'm saying. I mean, we labored in here on Friday and put together 80 bags. And then we had to come back and make 11 more bags. And there were about 100 or so. And preachers count, there's probably about 150 here yesterday. About 150. So it was a big day. A lot of work, a lot of cleanup, a lot of effort on the part of a lot of people. And all I can say is thank you. Like that sign out there, I got through and was taking the old sign down. I said, what in the world are we going to put up? Hey, it's Thanksgiving. And so sometimes all you can do is just say thank you. You know, that's all you can do. Just say thank you. And those are magical words, by the way. There's two sets of magical words. One of them is thank you, and the other one is? Please. Huh? Okay, please, we'll take that one. I was going to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Those are all magical words that we need to really learn because it helps us. They're just little things. And I appreciate the reading of the verse this morning from Zechariah chapter 4 and verse 10. And God's eyes are indeed everywhere. But let's look at that first part of that verse. Don't despise the day of small things. Do not despise the day of small things. Thank you is just a small thing. But oh, how big it becomes. I'm sorry is just a small thing. But oh, how big it becomes. I'm convinced, and I think you probably heard me say this before, that we have to get small enough so that we can serve God and so that God can use us. We have to get small enough. Some of us are too big for our own pants. You know? We're too big. And so we have to get small. Kind of like that story in the Old Testament of Gideon. You know? God did get that message across. You're too big. You're too big. You need to get smaller. But Lord, I've got 32,000. But look across over there. They've probably got 132,000. But Lord, we got 32,000. It's too many. Too many. Hey, go see which ones want to go home to their houses and be with their wives and kids. Wow, a bunch of them did. 10,000, in fact. 22,000. Hey, you got too many. Finally got that number down to about 300. And all right, so now you are small enough so I can use you. You're finally small enough so I can use you. I don't know about you, but I have to work on myself. And I think you probably have to work on yourself a little bit too. We get a little bit too big for our own pants, so to speak. We think too highly of ourselves. The other night, we were studying on Wednesday night about sheep. We saw a video about sheep. And the guy kept saying in that video, I don't want to be a sheep. I don't want to be a sheep. That's what you are. That's what you are. I'm sorry. The sheep, excuse me here, but the sheep is one of the dumbest creatures on the face of the earth. They don't know their right from their left. They don't know up from down. They don't know nothing. I know that's bad English, but they don't. And so the guy kept saying, I don't want to be a sheep. You are a sheep. And that's why elders have to watch over you like they do. Keep you in line, keep you in the fold, and keep you where you need to be. Because you're a dumb sheep. You're a sheep. But that helps me to kind of get things in focus a little bit. I got a quiz for you. And I was almost saying I'm happy that the kids are staying in because they would know all the answers, but it looks like, well, we got a few. Y'all don't mind being called kids? Y'all are kids. Okay. All right. What country in the world has the largest population? How many? I'm hearing China. China. I'm sorry. Close. China, 1.41 billion people. What is the tallest mountain in the world? Mount Everest. Y'all doing good. Mount Everest, 29,029 feet. What is the tallest tree in the world? Redwood. And a particular kind of redwood that I didn't know, the Hyperion, which is 379.3 feet tall. But it's a redwood. Right off the bat, we knew that. Who's the richest man in the world?
No, Bezos.
What'd you say?
Bezos, Amazon.
Very good. I thought Bill Gates. He used to be until a couple years ago, but he's not anymore because Bezos took him over. Jeff Bezos of Amazon, worth $150 billion. Do what? A B. Billion. With a B. I'll take that. With a B. Yes. All right. You did good on that. All right, let me continue the quiz. What's the smallest country in the world? Forget it. You don't know it. It's Bouvet Island. 0 people live there. Nobody lives there. What's the smallest mountain in the world? Smallest. You don't know. Indira Mountain. It's minus 1,207 feet. That's pretty tall. What's the smallest tree in the world? Now, my wife knew this one. Do y'all know it? Kuora, the smallest tree. What? Oh, we got these educators in here. Okay. Okay. Who's the poorest man in the world? That would be me. Look at the hands go up. Hands go up. No. Jerome Kerviel. He owes $6.3 billion. He's in debt, $6.3 billion. Okay, so isn't it amazing? We knew all the tallest and the biggest and the most. We didn't know anything about the smallest and the least. That's how we are. Because we sometimes we just think too big of ourselves. And we think too big. We know we don't know, and we need to get smaller so that God can serve, so that we can serve God. God uses, and there's a reason, because God uses small things to do big stuff. That's the only way it can happen. Is that if we get small enough so that we can be used. How small are you? What are you willing to do? Whatever it takes, right? Willing to scrub a floor? Willing to clean up vomit? Willing to clean up dirty bathrooms? Willing to, I could go on and on. What are you willing to do? How small are you willing to get? Listen to this. This will get us going good. Wake up, Beth. What? Unmute it. How you like that song? And we can do it later. We can do it later, if you can find it, because it'll work at any point. But back to our text, which has to do with the fact that we are not to despise the day of small things. And here's proof of that. When God wanted to create...
Dancing on a Friday, your friend with special needs. These simple moments change the world. Of course there's nothing wrong with bigger dreams. Just don't miss the minutes on your way to bigger things. It's a mama singing songs about the Lord. It's a daddy spending family time the world says he cannot afford. These simple moments change the world. It's a pastor at a tiny little church, 40 years of loving on the broken and the hurt. These simple moments change the world. Dream small, don't buy the lie, you've gotta do it all. Just let Jesus use you where you are, one day at a time. Live well, loving God and others as yourself. Find little ways where only you can help. With His great love, a tiny rock can make a giant fall. Dream small. Visiting the widow down the street, or dancing on a Friday with your friend with special needs. These simple moments change the world. Of course there's nothing wrong with bigger dreams. Just don't miss the minutes on your way to bigger things. No, 'cause these simple moments change the world. So dream small, don't buy the lie, you've gotta do it all. Just let Jesus use you where you are, one day at a time. Live well, loving God and others as yourself. Find little ways where only you can help. With His great love, a tiny rock can make a giant fall. So dream small. Keep loving, keep serving, keep listening, keep learning, keep praying, keep hoping, keep seeking, keep searching. Out of the small things and watch them grow bigger. The God who does all things makes oceans from rivers. So dream small, don't Dream small. Dream small.
You don't have to be like a major mover and shaker in God's kingdom. You dream small, you get small, because God is the God of the broken. He's the God of the downtrodden. He says, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." That's who He is the God of. And so that's the God we need to learn about and become more like. That guy, I was fixing to tell you, when God wanted to create a new nation, He didn't go to the notable families of the world. He went to a vagabond, a nomad, and his wife. And He said, "You will." When God wanted to lead His people out of slavery, He went to a sheep herder to do that. When God wanted a king for His people, He chose a shepherd boy. When Jesus wanted to feed the 5,000, He took a small boy's sack lunch. When God came to earth as a human, He didn't choose a rich and famous family, but He came as a little baby in a barn to a seemingly unimportant family. There's a common thread through all that. There really is. And that is that God uses small things to do big stuff. Small things are everyday things. Small things, I saw a lot of it yesterday. I really did. I was mentioning in the class this morning that there seemed to be so many special needs yesterday. And people with peculiar and particular situations. And there were people in this place right here that were here and there and there and there, and they were talking and doing small things. Seemingly small things, but they were very big things. And it's not just about giving away a can of beans. It's not just about giving away this or that. It's what you do in the process of getting from here to their car and finding out a little bit more about them. That's the small stuff that God uses. In 1 Corinthians chapter 1, beginning in verse 25, listen to this. "For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength. Brothers and sisters, think of what you were when you were called. Not many of you were wise by human standards. Not many were influential. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak things of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly things of the world and the despised things and the things that are not to nullify the things that are, so that no one may boast before Him. It is because of Him that you are in Christ Jesus, who has become for us wisdom from God. That is our righteousness, holiness, and redemption. Therefore it is written, let the one who boasts, boast in the Lord. We boast in the Lord. It is because of Him that you're saved. There's no way, that you can work your way there and say, here I am, God. Look at all this stuff I did. No, not at all. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, beginning in verse 1. When I came to you, I did not come with eloquence of human wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony about God. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ and Him crucified. I came to you in weakness, with great fear and trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with a demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith may not rest on human wisdom, but on God's power. Sometimes we get a little too big. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, beginning in verse 6. I planted, Apollos watered it, but God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. Sometimes we get a little too big. Sometimes we think a little too much about what all we are doing, and that so much depends on us. We're indispensable. We are indispensable. Because God is looking for somebody who is little enough that He can use, who is broken enough that will humble themselves before Him and come to Him and say, God, just take me. You know, I don't have anywhere else. Just take me the way I am. And I'll try to do better. 1 Corinthians chapter 3, beginning in verse 18. Do not deceive yourselves. If any of you think that you're wise by the standards of this age, you should become fools, so that you may become wise. We got to get little enough. We got to become a fool before we can ever get wise. For the wisdom of this world is foolishness in God's sight. As it is written, He catches the wise in their craftiness again. And again the Lord knows that the thoughts of the wise are futile. So then no more boasting about human leaders. No more boasting about them. Or about me. Or about you. It's not me. It's not you. God takes little stuff and broken stuff, and He makes big stuff. And He makes His kingdom work out of little folks. Let me ask you this. How many famous people do you know? I mean, personally. I mean, we could, anybody can name off. Right now, I can't even think of one. But we can name off these people. How many do you know? I remember one day I was in college, long time ago. I'll just mention this name and you'll know it was a long time ago. But I was in college and went out to the tennis courts, and guess who was out there playing tennis? Pat Boone. Tells you how old. Pat Boone was out there playing tennis. And everybody was gathered around the fences watching Pat Boone play tennis with his brother, who leads singing up there in one of those big churches somewhere. Some people are going, "Yeah, let me touch you." But how many famous people do you know? Can any of you name the last 5 Heisman Trophy winners? Can any of you name the last one? I knew somebody would. How many of you know last year's Miss America? How many of you could name a Pulitzer Prize winner? How many of you could name an Academy Award winner, the best actress, the best actor? Better still, I've got some more pointed questions for you as we bring these thoughts to a close. How many of you ever, right now, can remember a teacher who helped you through your journey in elementary, middle, or high school? Whoa, look at that. How many of you right now can remember a friend who has helped you through a difficult time? Just like I thought. How many of you can remember or know of somebody in your life that taught you something worthwhile? How many of you know of somebody that made you feel special or appreciated? Yeah. Don't you see? Don't I see? Don't we see where we're going with this? What good's it going to do to stand before God one day, but God, I know Him. In psychology, that's called identification. You know, the fact that you know somebody who is famous. You know, and you've heard people talk like, oh, I know the governor. Yeah, he and I, we did this and we did that. Why do they do that? You know why they do that? To make themselves look bigger and more important. The fact that we know somebody that is good at something or big or important, or maybe that has a lot of money. What good does that do? What good does that do? I'm going to call out some names here right now. At ease, it's none of you. I'm going to mention some names, and you won't know these people. Mike Hill. Mike Hill. That name is special in my life. You may know, that's a pretty common name, but this guy is a very extraordinary person. And I'm going to tell you why. For a lot of reasons, but one day I walked in where I was working, at the school I was working. He hands me this envelope, and he says, "Here, Benny, this is for you." I said, "What is it?" He said, "It's some money, because we heard you talking the other day that you're going to have to get a new set of glasses, and you were talking about how expensive that was, and so we did this for you, and we want you to go get your glasses." That happened a long time ago. And Amy will tell you that this guy is big in my life. He was a nothing at one time. As the world counts things, he grew up in an orphan home. He worked, and he was on teams that I coached. And then he became a fellow teacher of mine. He's special to this day, because he did something little. Didn't hit the newspapers. Nobody reads about it. But it's big to me. Charlie Holmes, Ray Jones. You don't know them. But I can't tell you the number of times that they would come and rescue me out of a hurricane in Florida or power that had gone out, and they just come right over. And they do for me. And they help me when I couldn't do it. Something little, very important. Pete Adams. He came over one Saturday after a tree had blown down on my roof. And he brought his chainsaw. And he worked hard, cutting that tree off my roof and helping me with that. Carl Hill. He came to me when I woke up one day and found out that my wife was gone. Just gone. Took the kids and left. You may not have known that about me. I'm being vulnerable. But he came to me and visited and put his hand on my shoulder. And he told me, it's going to be okay. Ernie Walden, Dan Slaughter. These are people who came to me at a very special time in my life. very special loss. Okay, we all have people in our lives who have meant a lot to us. They've been there for us. That is what it's all about. That's exactly what it's all about. It's not the big things, it's the small things. And so that's where we have to get. Into the foolishness of God. To become a fool for Jesus Christ. To do things that nobody else will do. And get dirty or whatever it takes to do the small things. And to not walk around like, whoa, did you hear what they said? Hear what they did? Why do we spend so much time on that stuff? We don't have time for that. We need to be doing the small things for this church. For this church. You know, whatever it takes. Your name will not be in the paper. It won't. So don't expect that. Nobody will even know you did it. Probably. Who cares? Who cares? You know? Just get small enough. Small enough so that God can use you. Come unto me, all you that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. He wants you to be a part of that. If we can help you in any way. The invitation's yours while we stand.